Bullying that spiraled out of control is how police in North Carolina are describing a deadly school shooting yesterday. A 16-year-old boy has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Jatwan Craig, a ninth grader, he is expected to be in court a little later this afternoon. Now, Craig is accused of killing 10th grade student Bobby McKeithen. The two had apparently been having some problems for several weeks now. McKeithen's mother says her son's death should have never happened.
A child shouldn't have been able to walk in with a gun and be able to shoot my baby in his, just shoot him in his side and kill him. That should never happen. I don't feel safe about the school system. I'm worried about my other kids now because it was just too easy. It happened too easily.
School district officials also expressing frustration over a tragedy that could have possibly been prevented.
From one perspective, yes, we failed. Maybe we didn't intervene early enough in a bullying situation. I don't really know what took place. I don't know how a young person gets a handgun in the state of North Carolina, but we are going to look into all of those things, and we will do our best to make sure that this never happens again.
Well, this has been a scary situation for students at that high school in North Carolina. More parents across the country are faced with the challenge of preparing their kids for the possibility of gun violence at school. Joining me now to talk about this issue, Ted Costello. He is the Vice President of Operations at Newport Academy and Rehab and Mental Health Clinics for Teens. And Ted, thanks for being with us today. It's a sad fact, but it's a real reality that we now as parents have to talk to our kids about gun violence. How do we approach this?
Absolutely. First off, thank you for bringing attention to this. This is an important part of the issue. I think the most important thing any parent, role model, or person in a child's life can do is to just validate and listen. Sometimes when we're talking about these events that can be traumatic, there's a bit of what I'd call the iceberg effect, where the insecurity or fear that the child is demonstrating may only be about 10% of what's actually going on internally. And so we have to really grasp every morsel of what they're sharing with us and just try to validate and understand as they make sense of what can be a scary world.
And it seems as though not only are we having to talk to our children about you protecting yourselves if a situation like this would occur, but parents also have to be aware and on the lookout whether maybe their child would grab a gun and bring it to school. How do they talk on both sides of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think being aware of symptomology, so seeing if your child is acting differently off baseline, pay attention to whether they're losing interest in things they used to be passionate about, if their sleep or wake cycle is changing, if their relationship with food is changing. These could be symptoms that relate to possibly a PTSD diagnosis, which I think we've seen with the most recent shooting. Sometimes there can be a cycle of PTSD where an individual is bullied, they're placed into a state where they then become aggressive and perpetuate a cycle of trauma.
And when it comes to mental health, do you think that has a role in all of this as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that one thing we take for granted is this idea that mental health is the absence of anything negative or bad happening versus mental health being something that we proactively strive to create. So positive mental health is something that we can create in our lives through engaging and connecting with our loved ones, through engaging with nature, through providing a therapeutic part of our lives where we're able to share sincerely what's really going on inside. These are things that sometimes can be undervalued in our culture. I know in the work we do with teenagers, sticking to these principles of really authentic connection and talking about what's really going on inside pays real dividends. And I'd encourage adults to embrace it as well.
All right, Ted Costello, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.